you got 300 lost seasons in a row, and they may set the single season loss record. At what point does ownership start looking to sell, or what point does Vegas smell the blood and we're like, let's get our claws on that franchise, pull them out here, and then see what we could do about, it won't. Of course, they probably won't be the Las Vegas Rockies at that point. You figure they take up a new name, but do you see that happening? If this year and next year we're on 4 seasons in a row of 100 losses.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 163 of Cinco Squad. My name is Mike DeSanto. With me, of course, is Grandpa Jay. Missing our esteemed Trey Day and John this week. Trey, I believe, is still doing his tryout, his secret hush-hush tryout in the depths of Cancun somewhere. And, of course, John is out trying to figure out exactly how he can help the Philadelphia Eagles repeat as Super Bowl champions this year.
Hold on. This just in. Just got a text message from Trey. He's not too confident with making the Lakers squad, so he's moved his way to San Diego. Now he is trying out for the new MLS San Diego team.
Okay, well, you know what? Keeping his options open, I appreciate that. Grandpa Jay, how are you?
Back in the mainland now.
Yes. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It is a hot Wednesday. I was melting on the deck. I kept putting ice on my neck. That made no difference. As soon as I grabbed the ice, it was already a puddle of water in my hand. So it's going to be a hot summer. So all you kids and coaches out there, they're going to be out in the sun, golf players, tennis players, swimmers, etc. Protect your neck, son. Protect your neck.
Yeah, we're definitely dealing with a hot one. It's every day I get in my car after work, and it's at least 93 degrees in there, and I immediately begin sweating before
it said 101 today on my temp, and I was like, this is pretty ridiculous. And then one of the lifeguards was saying it's a record high for Tampa, a record high. Never been this hot on May the 28th. So it's going to be a doozy this summer.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So glad I moved.
Apparently the Rays will be moving some of their day games to later because of the Bucs schedule, so that's a good thing.
yes. Stay out of the sunlight as much as you can. The burning orb is back to taunt us.
Speaking of burning orbs, I was watching a show, and you and I into dragon shows and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Wheel of Time. I'm not sure if anybody saw the Wheel of Time. High budget, pretty pissed now. Just ended it, season 3. Just abrupt ending, and everything I'm reading now is there might not be a season 4. There's 14 novels. Okay, they just got through the 5th novel, so the 6th and 7th one is supposed to be season 4 if it happens, but it's going to happen at a bottom line of $10 million per episode. Of course, all the actors and actresses are in. Everybody's caught on. Started a little slow. Now it's like it's must see. We gotta have season 4. So I'm starting a petition here for season 4 of the Wheel of Time. If you guys haven't seen it, you're into dragons and magic and that sort of thing. It's very entertaining, great storyline. A lot of politics where you would not think it's so heavy. And this is based in way back, in non-modern times. So you kind of get to see the side of how politics have swayed major decisions throughout history, really. And if you're into magic, like I said, dragons and all sorts of fantasy, wonderful things like that, give it a go.
Yeah, I definitely got to check out that show. You've been telling me about it, and it looks really fun, so I got to check it out. Mm-hmm. But speaking of politics, a gentleman that continues to like to give his 2 cents on political things, and we're not going to get political, but Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And the ongoing constant question as to where the gentleman will be playing, if he will be playing at all. Right now, it just seems like, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers or he sits out a year. But it begs the question, being that Mr. Rodgers is now in his 40s, can great quarterbacks expect these days to be able to play into their 40s with any amount of success? What do you think?
Yes, for 2 reasons. First reason is science is way advanced as for where it was 20 years ago when players were in their mid-30s and already obviously thinking about what am I going to do next with my career. without even planning, hey, I have a decade or somewhat of a decade left at 35. Maybe this last, half of my career or last third, if you end up playing, for 20, 25 years, you have 8 more when you hit the 17-year mark, can be one of my best based on modern science. We know the recovery is better, right? The products are better. The supplements are better. Even practices are less, harming, so to say, for lack of a better term. They're not hitting as much. Preseason, same thing, right? Even the game has evolved now where they're protecting the quarterback to keep them in the NFL for longer. And then the second reason is because Brady's kind of giving everybody the blueprint. And I feel like his blueprint was quite simple. Eat right, go to bed, do all the simple things well that most athletes ignore in their 20s. Do it really well in your 30s, and then you have a shot in your 40s. So a lot of it is planning a decade ahead. And the ones that, I'm thinking about now, Mikey, like the contracts are still ridiculous for quarterbacks going into their 40s. So why would you want to possibly leave $50 million on the table by retiring at 38 instead of 44 or 45?
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that. I'm actually going to go the opposite way. I think, no, they shouldn't expect to play into their 40s with success. And that's for 2 reasons. One, the turnover in the NFL, even at the quarterback position, even though the longevity at the quarterback position is higher. And that's why this is, a thought, is that they can play in their 40s. The turnover is such that if you don't find success, the truly great quarterbacks, even they'll be pushing it because there's always a younger guy that coming in, always someone to draft. I mean, how many project quarterbacks did we see drafted even this year by teams that need quarterbacks, a la the Browns and Saints, that are willing to eat a draft pick, eat a year to see if maybe they can get their guy, but continue to keep in mind that they can go get somebody else. The other thing is we're starting to see a lot of NFL players retire early because of various injuries or concerns about injuries. And while the quarterback, again, is the most protected position in the entire National Football League, it still comes with its injuries. You look at Andrew Luck, who just got tired of trying to make that comeback every year when he would get banged up. So if a guy like Andrew Luck can retire early the way he did, and justifiably for his own health's sake, which, everybody put your health first over, especially make your money and then, put your health first. But I think there's only going to be a handful over the next 20, 30 years that may even have a shot at being able to play into their 40s because the blueprint is there to take care of your body, but the concern is there for your family and for your health and things like that.
Yeah, but minus Tua, what quarterback right now is truly at risk at this point where people are debating whether they should take the field for another game, right? Like, it's not even like, hey, maybe you can last a couple more. It's like, no, this guy should stop today and just become a dad and a husband and just call it quits. And, Miami would obviously make a settlement at that point. They wouldn't, they'd screw him over. But there's only really one, right? And how many of these project quarterbacks are working out? We said maybe there's going to be 8 new starters this year, possibly. It might be less. So that's 25% of the league, which means the other 75% are guys that keep holding their spot because these projects aren't coming to fruition. These projects aren't being given the time. These other 75% are being given to acclimatize to the league, get to see the game from the sidelines, see the speed, see the errors themselves, right? Learn as they're going along, play against the second unit, maybe sometimes against the first unit. They get a couple of snaps because QB might be down and injured. Maybe they got to start here or there. Maybe play the second half because of an unforeseen injury and get a little bit of PT there, but not the expectation of starting. And I feel that's where maybe the longevity starts to become less because the expectation is start in year 1. Right? The Green Bay print that everybody bitches about, it's worked. Sit for 2 or 3 years and you have a quarterback for 15 years. It's worked, right? And Love is already showing signs of injury right now, but I can't see him not coming back and sort of playing smarter and understanding how to be a smarter quarterback because the blueprint at a lot of franchises, Pittsburgh, is keep your head coach. Green Bay, it's keep your quarterback on the field for a long time, right? Same thing with San Fran. San Fran had a little spell of turning over quarterbacks. They're trying to get out of that again now. It's, that huge signing that Purdy just had. So I feel like the league is setting it up where the quality has to be at the utmost because you're demanding 80, 90, 100, 150 million dollars for a TV contract. Well, your product better be freaking good. And that product starts and ends with a good quarterback, because jump high, jump low, nobody's going to be, falling head over heels about a great running game. Saquon is as close as Derrick Henry is as close as it comes to people getting super excited about a running back taking over a game. Maybe Kamara in his prime. Other than that, everybody wants to see the QB throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's definitely the thought. I guess the other one that comes to mind, that he's not at the point where like you think he shouldn't play another down necessarily, but he's getting to be that question of, is he going to ever be able to stay on the field, as Anthony Richardson?
Yeah.
That's the other one. But yeah, I mean, I see your point. It's just like anything can happen in the National Football League type of thing. So I have more confidence in the thought that like quarterbacks aren't going to play into their 40s much than I do that they will necessarily after like a guy like Rodgers. But speaking of guys, there's a guy that is leaving his game, and that is Rafael Nadal. And I know you had some thoughts on the French Open and what we've seen so far and things like that. So I'll give you the floor to be able to speak about that.
Yeah, I'll take this time to just send a big shout out to my mom, who might be one of Rafa's biggest fans. I can't imagine that she was without tears kind of seeing his exit there. And we're not used to seeing Rafa, leave the French early. In fact, we go back to the history of when he won his first French. It was 20 years ago in 2005. When he won his first in 2005, there were only, in that span of the last 20 years, there have only been 4 other players that have won the French Open other than Rafael Nadal. That's Carlos Alcaraz, we know last year. Novak Djokovic, arguably the greatest tennis player of all time, won it 3 times in that span, and Federer won it once. So talk about a single span of dominance in one championship. It won't happen again in any sport. And if it does, then, we haven't seen that player come out. We know it won't happen in golf, so it has to happen in tennis, because if Tiger couldn't do it, then who else would? Jack was first or second so many times consecutively at some of the championships, the majors. But, right now it's wide open, right? Carlos looks great. He's playing great tennis, took care of business last night, straight sets in his first couple of rounds. I expect him to be back in the finals, and whether or not somebody can stand up to his test, because the French seems to kind of be a pattern of, if you're playing really well and you're playing good quality tennis, you find your game there, then you're going to have an opportunity to keep winning, consecutive titles. And we see that with the women as well, because, if we look on the women's side, Polish sensation right now, ranked number 5th in the world. She was 1 for a while. Iga Swiatek, she's won 4 of the last 5. And she's in great position right now as the 5 seed, because the pressure's not on her. So if she does win this one, she's right behind Steffi Graf. Steffi Graf won 6 in the Open era. And nobody would think for one second, Iga Swiatek, in that conversation with Steffi Graf.
Right.
But, the proof is in the pudding, right? You win 5 out of 6 in a major, then they have to proclaim you to be the new queen of clay. So whereas we see the king of clay moving on now, perhaps have we adopted our new queen of clay, and will Iga be able to sustain this level of play for many years, where she truly can become the queen of clay? But it's great entertainment. I know a lot of people aren't into the French. It's a slower pace because clay is slower, longer points. Not the crowd is rowdy, but it's not the U.S. Open. The tournament's fun, but it's not the prestige of Wimbledon. So, it's almost like tennis builds up to get to the U.S. Open, right? So we're on that build up where, I love the U.S. Open. I'm sure you're a fan of the U.S. Open, being it's right. It's not too far away from your hometown. And, I'd love to go to Queens, like I always say, one year and see it live for myself, just be in that energy and excitement. I'd love to be at a match with a big American player there and see the crowd get behind him or her. So it's on the bucket list. But yes, tune into the French. Will the queen really become that queen? And is Carlos going to win 2 in a row? Or are we going to start to see a new trend in the men's French Open, where we start to see multiple champions year on year on?
Definitely, everybody stay tuned. It's an exciting time in the world of tennis. And yes, the buildup is always to the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, Queens. It's a very good time at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Yes.
Right.
Right by. Well, not super close to my hometown, but way closer than most people.
Way closer than where we are right now. So.
Hey, oh yeah, for sure. So, speaking of tuning in, So tuning in, what we've been tuning into, and I think a lot of people have been tuning into, is these exciting, well, in some games, exciting conference finals when it comes to the NBA and NHL. They've been keeping us mostly entertained, I would say, although there have been some unfortunate blowouts in both sports that have kind of, not pointing any fingers. Florida. Thank you, Carolina, by the way, at time of recording.
Yeah, shit. OKC and Minnesota, the first 3 games were what, 25, 30, and 40?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, play a game that's competitive, guys.
At least the Pacers and Knicks have been keeping up for the most part with actually competing with each other on a given night. But with competing, I wanted us to kind of break down and look back, go in the Wayback Time Machine, and talk about either good or bad. It can be either good or bad. A shocking performance you remember from the conference finals. So I'll let you go first.
Go back into the halls of time here and see.
Take it back.
I'll tell you what, man. Watching, probably the most shocking one to me was when the Knicks made their magical run in the 99 shortened season when they had the strike. Coming in as an 8 seed, I hated Miami. Okay, I've always had this thing where Miami teams can suck salt. I don't give 2 damns about any Miami team. All you Miami fans, hey, Dolphins, guess what? You keep popping your damn champagne bottles. Where it's about to be year 25 without a freaking playoff win. How about you pop some champagne on that shit? Because how about you talk about what matters now in this century of football? Because you guys are about to be 25 years without a playoff win. I don't see it happening for the Dolphins this year. But, New York goes into Miami at that time. I think it was still game 5 for round 1. I think it was game 5. I think it was 5 games, right? And then it went 7-7 after that. Because from what I recall, I do remember them going to Miami and winning that game 5. Yep. And that made them advance to the finals. Right. We know Van Gundy was a freaking maniac as a coach. They go to the NBA finals and, they lose to the Spurs in the NBA finals. But what was more shocking once they got to the conference finals, and I want to make sure that I have this conference finals right here, is I do believe that they took care of business. Who did they take care of business against? I want to say it was Indiana, but yeah, it was Indiana. And that was Indiana's year, right? So you're thinking finally, is Indiana going to get over the hump here? We know it happened a couple of years later for them, and they end up getting, I think, swept by the Lakers. But Indiana has the better team, you would imagine. They played much better that year. I think Indiana was the two seed in the NBA. So, Knicks taking on the 1 and then the 2 in the conference finals. That was shocking to me because, a lot of times it's like the Knicks and Heat had a really heated rivalry. They hated each other, in fact, right? And we know that Knicks and Indiana was going on since the mid-90s. So there you have an even more hateful rivalry. The Reggie Spike thing has always been a big deal. But, I thought sometimes you think maybe a team has overexceeded expectations and now they're not going to get over this hump again. But, they took care of business in that series. It was 4-2 and, they held Indiana, I believe, under 100 points for the entire series. In fact, I think only one team scored over 100. But throughout the series, they're talking 88 or 86 points or 82 points. And defense really stepped up and, Knicks were maybe fighting to be 500 that season. So that was one of the more shocking conference finals where I thought okay, they've met their match here. Indiana pretty much dominated them in the regular season. They're a better team. Indiana kept teasing us when the hell are you going to get to finals there? You know what I mean? You are the best team without Jordan in the East. Clearly, you have to get your way to the finals. They never did in the 90s. I thought that was their year because nobody knew that the Spurs are going to become who they were either. So that was probably the most wide open year in basketball that we had seen in 20 years, because the Lakers and Celtics had dominated before that and the Pistons. So, yeah, that Knicks 99 team definitely shocked the hell out of me as an 8 seed, beating Miami and then Indiana.
Yeah, so for a second there, I thought you were actually going to go with the 94 Knicks team.
Yeah.
Summer of 94, which would have been funny because the one I picked out is on the other side of that summer of 94.
The Houston team?
No, not in the NBA. The other New York team. The New York Rangers.
Yes, yeah.
So I unfortunately didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
I wish I could have. But so in the 94 Eastern Conference Finals, the Rangers actually played the Devils, which for anybody that doesn't know me as a Rangers fan, that is my Boston Red Sox, my Dallas Cowboys. Like, I don't, above all, do not like the Devils. They actually went down 3-2 in that series, and so it created like a famous thing. So Joe Namath's famous guarantee that the Jets are gonna win Super Bowl III.
Yeah.
So Mark Messier, who was the captain of the Rangers at the time, he guaranteed a win in Game 6 to tie the series and force it to 7. He then proceeded to go and score a hat trick in Game 6. Including an empty netter at the end of the game to solidify the win.
Yeah.
They win Game 6. They then win Game 7 in overtime to go to the Stanley Cup, and they end up beating the Canucks and winning the Cup, the last Cup the Rangers have won since then. But the fact that they were essentially against the ropes, and Mark Messier, who's one of the best players in NHL history, essentially pulls them up off the canvas, wills them to a Game 6 win. They win in 7 and then end up going on to win the Stanley Cup. I think that was a shocking and impressive win for me.
Because the Devils were clearly the better team. From that perspective, you're saying is even for them to get to the Stanley Cup was shocking. Because same thing I'm saying about the Knicks, right? Like you figure like this is it, we're done.
Well, yeah, and so it felt like it because they had Martin Brodeur, who even at the time was well on his way to being one of the best goalies ever. This is a very good Rangers team. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they got guys like Messier and Mike Richter and Brian Leetch and Adam Graves, and they had built themselves a very veteran-heavy title contending team, as well as having some younger guys on the squad. Yeah. But you go down 3-2, and you are facing the Devils, who seem bound and determined to win a Stanley Cup that year. And they end up winning, I think, if it's not the next year, it's the year after, they end up winning the Cup anyway.
Yeah.
And you're coming off of like 2 years prior to the 92-93 season. The Rangers did a lot of what they did this year, which was completely underachieved for the talent they had on their team. And it looked like they might be done. And so 2 years later, will themselves to a Stanley Cup win by getting through the Devils in the finals by coming back and winning the last 2 games. Yeah, that was... I think that shocked some fans in their ability to kind of keep pushing.
Yeah. And I think if we're going to show a little bit of respect for maybe another team that was in consideration in the NBA for me, is LeBron carrying the Cavs the year they got swept by the Spurs, where you had to take down the mighty Celtics. Then he had to take down, I believe, Orlando, kind of squeaked their way through into the second round. Mm-hmm. So, there have been some improbable runs, few and far between, because the NBA was such a, from 1980 till we can say till maybe now, these past 7 years, it's been about teams dominating and winning multiple championships in a row, right? So it was almost 35 years of like, okay, well, this team's going to win 2 or 3, and this team's going to win 2 in a row. This team's going to win 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5, whatever it is. So until we've seen this parity over the last 6-7 years, it's really been teams have found a way to be, dominant. So when a team kind of just sticks its spoke in, they're like, not so fast, Boston. Like, I know you've been to the finals for 2 years in a row, but it's my turn now. It gives you that nice little like refreshing, like, oh yeah, we're going to see different teams in the finals. Now the Cavs and Golden State didn't leave much to our imagination for 4 years in a row, but hey, it was entertaining.
Well, at least not leaving much to the imagination. There were at least good series.
Yes.
And especially that 2016 one, especially for Cavs fans.
Yeah.
The great comeback that will possibly define LeBron's legacy in Cleveland. And I say possibly, it's definitely defining LeBron's legacy in Cleveland. Yep. Unless he goes back and somehow wins like 3 straight. But which I don't see happening. I don't think he's going to leave LA. But
this just in, Ant-Man and LeBron signed with Cleveland in a blockbuster trade nobody expected.
I mean, I think that was, speaking of shocking, I think that would definitely be shocking. First of all, LeBron going back to Cleveland again.
Yeah.
It would probably be actually less shocking than it would that Ant leaves Minnesota for Cleveland.
To go to another small market? Hell no. And I would say small market. It's not a small market when LeBron's there, so it actually is different if LeBron's in town with it.
Yeah, and I think it would become a bigger market with Ant. I think he has that, where he's developing that level of star power. Mm-hmm. But a recent title that was won, Jim, was actually, we had the men's ice hockey world championships. And this shocked me. USA won, and that's not the shocking part. The shocking part is that the U.S. team hadn't won a men's world championship in hockey. It's not including the Olympics, just the world championships.
Yeah.
For 92 years. So they won their
I can't
first
believe
title.
that. Like, how is that? Like, how do you almost go on a 100-year drought? Did they just not send quality teams?
Well, I mean, so there was always like the thing of Canada obviously has always been good at hockey. The Soviets dominated the World Championships for a long time.
Yeah.
Then you got Finland and Sweden that I think got some wins in there. But yeah, getting a championship somewhere in there, considering that they've won what I think two, at least two. They won the 60 and the 80 Olympic gold medals. You'd think that somewhere around those gold medals, at least, they would have at least won the gold at the World Championships, but I guess they never did.
Yeah.
But that begs the question, what is a surprisingly long drought that people maybe don't think about in sports?
The one I just said, like, until I saw that this week when I was looking it up, I could not believe that the Miami Dolphins are going to be half a century without a playoff win. That seems weird to me because it seems like they've been in the playoffs like numerous times since the turn of this century. And it's just weird to think they don't have one playoff win in the last 24 years. Like, that is one hell of a drought for a franchise that really boasts about being the only team to ever go perfect. So, I feel like it's almost like a cursed karma for mocking the last team that loses. And it's like, well, you know what? Guess what? The more you keep celebrating this shit is the more the football gods are like, well, enjoy a champagne celebration because the city don't get to celebrate a championship, far less a playoff win.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think, it's a kind of a double-edged sword thing because they boast all the time about being the last team to go perfect and win Super Bowl and all that. And then they also probably have the best quarterback to never win a Super Bowl in Dan Marino.
Yeah.
And so is that the thing? Is it like, was it that they boast so much about the undefeated season in 72 that it's a trickle-down effect that just keeps getting worse in the sense of like, okay, you're going to get a franchise quarterback that's by far a Hall of Famer. He'll never win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to get worse where now you can't keep a quarterback healthy, you can't keep a team healthy, and you can't win. Because it doesn't matter how good you get, someone in your division will get better at the same time.
Yep.
They get good, the Patriots are good. They get good, the Jets are good. They get good, the Bills are good.
The Bills are good.
Yeah, so it's like there's constantly someone in their own division that's in their way of being successful. So, yeah, I mean, I did not realize that they had not won a single playoff game in that time span. That's insane. Now,
Mikey, are you gonna turn the knife here on Trey and talk a little bit about his hometown baseball team being in a terribly long drought since their last World Series, or are you going somewhere else?
It is an awfully long drought, and that was
75 years, by the way, guys.
75 years. We won't turn the knife too much. They were this close in 2016 at home.
So close.
So
with
close.
With LeBron in attendance.
With LeBron in attendance, he literally came over after a game, and he still got to watch them lose in Game 7, and it sucks, even though that was possibly the best non-Yankee baseball game I have ever watched.
Yep.
In my long time as a baseball fan. No, I won't twist that knife because that's too easy. I'm actually going to point out the Arizona Cardinals. So for those that aren't aware, the Arizona Cardinals have not won a championship, and I say championship because it's pre-Super Bowl era, since 1947.
Wow.
That was the NFL championship, the 1947 NFL championship. For reference, that's 2 years after the end of World War II. And they weren't even in Arizona yet. They were playing in Chicago.
And then they went to St. Louis.
Then they went to St. Louis, and then they went to Arizona. But in the entire time, they have been the St. Louis Cardinals, followed by the Arizona Cardinals. They have not won a single championship. And in fact, that team has appeared in one championship game since 1947, and that was the Super Bowl loss. And I guess I'm taking the knife out from Trey because that was a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on what some Cardinals fans consider a questionable game-winning catch.
Twinkle toes, baby.
Twinkle toes. from Santonio Holmes. But yes, the Arizona Cardinals somehow, some way, have not even found their way into a title game aside from that Super Bowl, let alone won a championship since 19.
Imagine that conversation on St. Louis is not doing as good. We leave. We go to the desert. No hockey, baseball team, nothing's there. We take over the town. Yeah, right.
No, you see, I mean, obviously the Coyotes have been and gone since then, but it just so happens that they did get a baseball team in 1998, and 4 years after that, they won the World Series. Mm-hmm. So, kind of falling short there, Cardinals.
Yeah.
But
speaking of falling short,
you
got something on your mind that we're in this, and talking about baseball mode here, since your beloved 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks just came up in the conversation. So, what you got for us today, Mike?
Yes, my beloved. They can rot in hell. But yeah, so baseball. So, you and I are big fans of movies, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Cubs right now, they have a player breaking out this season. He was a rookie last year, technically, so he can't win Rookie of the Year, which is unfortunate. But Pete Crow Armstrong, guy they acquired in the deal when they sent Javier Baez to the Mets a few years ago, he's finally breaking out. He is having a phenomenal season. He's already hit more home runs and driven in more runs this year than he did last year. And he played in 123 games last year. So he definitely had the body of work last year, but this year he's finally kind of breaking out to be their new star. But what people might not know about him is both his parents are actors. They've been in TV and movies. So his dad, Matthew John Armstrong, has been a TV actor. He's appeared in shows that you might have seen like Heroes, American Horror Story, an episode of House, things like that. So he's been pretty
American Horror Story fan. I got to look this guy up.
Yes, Matthew John Armstrong.
Okay.
But where does the Crow come from? That would be his mother, Ashley Crow, whose famous role, or one of her famous roles, because she's been more prevalent than her husband as far as like things she's been in, but prominent role for this case, may have put Pete on the destiny path to being a great professional baseball player, because Ashley Crow played Jenny Haywood, who's in the movie Son, inherited the Minnesota Twins from his grandfather, and he went on to manage them. This is the 90s cult baseball classic, Little Big League. And Pete Crow Armstrong's mom was the mom in that movie. So I think Pete, wasn't going to be able to help being a great baseball player.
It was in the stars. It was written in the stars.
Yes.
That's a good one. It's you always want to know why the two last names. It's like, well, both parents are famous actors, actresses, actors. So we're going to give him the power of two. With our powers combined, you'll be a great athlete.
Exactly. And if that doesn't work out, I feel like he'll just go into acting.
True.
I feel like the pedigree's there.
Yeah, it's not like he doesn't have two people he can lean on to kind of guide him in, right?
Yeah. And Pete Crow Armstrong is doing well this season, but there's one team, well, there's a few teams in the MLB right now that aren't doing well, but there's one that's doing particularly not well, and that would be the Colorado Rockies, who have set the MLB record for worst start to a season. Mm-hmm. It's really not going well. So, put yourself in your coaching shoes, your coaching flippers, whatever you wear as a coach. I haven't seen you on deck, so I'm not exactly 100% sure what amount of swim gear you happen to wear. But put your coach hat on, right? What would your message be to a team that started out this bad?
I mean, this is not just kind of bad. Like, this is terrible. I mean, almost like, how do you repair the damage that's going to be done? We know, like, a couple of years ago, I think they had 100 losses in the last 2 years. So we know things have kind of been going sideways for them, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like we expected them to not have 100 losses again, because they did nothing substantial in the offseason to suggest to us we're going to win more than 65 games this year. But to not even get to 10 games, 50 plus games into the season, kind of makes you think that you lost that locker room before the preseason, right? Either that or the attrition of talent on that roster is literally just left, and they haven't been able to attract anybody else into that roster or into that clubhouse that can really bring, kind of kind of you say like a group of bandits together, which we've seen happen in other franchises, right? It happened down here in Tampa a couple of times, but right manager. Right now, Franconi's trying to do it in Cincinnati, but at least there's some talent on that roster. So what do you do when there's not much talent on the roster, right? Like, how do you even like get the guys like to feel like we have a shot when at least you can't ride on one great pitcher on your staff that maybe, get you a win every week at least, right? Because he's starting once a week. So I would man, like this is tough. At this point in the season, I'll just tell them like, hey, time to play like we have nothing to lose. Like swing at things you don't normally swing at. You know what I mean? Let's try and be more aggressive in the earlier innings so we can keep our starters in there for longer. I don't know, man. Like I'm a manager coming to work and I keep seeing the losses just going up and up and up and up and up. And at this point, I'm wondering if we're going to even win 40 games this year, which would be abysmal to think a team can lose 120 games in this era. But, you turn to your guys and maybe that's just it's like, hey, you guys are pro ball players. Where's your fucking pride? Where's your pride? At some point, people are going to assume it's an automatic win every time they play us or it's an automatic series win. And at some point, we got to come in here and, freaking put our socks on and be a much better team. Because like I said, I don't think they have any stars right now. So you got to play great as a team. And I'll just call them out on that and be like, look, until you guys put together a streak of series wins, you're basically telling me and your fan base that you have no pride, or at least from a series win standpoint, we're talking about sweeping the series, just win the series, win 2 of 3, show some damn pride for the fans. I haven't looked at it this year, but I imagine, do they have any series wins this year?
I mean, with the fact that I think they've played more than 9 or 10 series, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think, if anything, they've split a series at some point. To your Stars reference, I mean, they've got a guy named Ryan McMahon who was their lone all-star last year. I mean, they weren't a good team last year. They weren't this bad, but they weren't a good team last year.
But you have to pick some guy's going to stand out on the roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he didn't have a bad season. I think he hit somewhere in like the 270s. He hit some home runs. He drove in some runs. Like he was by like far and away their best player.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a bad year. This year he's hitting like sub 200. Everybody's bad. Like they've got a guy, they've got their catcher Hunter Goodman, who's not having a terrible year. It looks like he's on the Ryan McMahon track to be the lone all-star in like less than a month and a half now, which is crazy that we're less than a month and a half away from the all-star break.
Yeah.
But I think it's just as simple. It's kind of a simple thing about where's your pride, and you guys are professional ball players. Start acting like it, because every day is but I would want to take a somewhat of a positive spin, because the season itself, has to be getting them down and has to be weighing them down as far as their ability to even want to, continue. I mean, I'm sure they want to continue to play, but it's tough coming to the ball. It's got to be tough coming to the ballpark every day, knowing the odds are significantly higher you're going to lose than that you win.
Okay, I just confirmed it. They have not won any of their series yet this year.
Yeah.
They split with the Rays. No, they didn't split with the Rays. They 1-2 against the Rays. Philly swept them. 1-2 against the A's. 1-2 against the Brewers. Padres swept them. Dodgers swept that series. Nationals swept that series. No, they got 1 of 4 against the Nationals. They got swept by the Royals in 4. They got swept by the Reds in 4s. 1-2 against the Braves. 1-3 against the Giants. Swept by the Tigers. 1-2 against the Padres. Swept by the Rangers. 1-2 against the Diamondbacks. Swept by the Phillies. 1-2 against the Yankees. And who knows if the Cubs are going to sweep them? But it's bad.
It's very bad. So I guess the positive spin to take on it, if I were their manager or coach or whatever, which by the way, their manager got fired.
Well, I would imagine they're 9-46 right now.
Yeah. It would just be, hey guys, listen, we all know what this start means for us. Like we know that we're not playing for the playoffs. Like we're grown men. Let's be straight up. We're not playing for the playoffs. We're not going to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, for reference, I've been telling people for how bad the Rockies are. They would have to significantly break the MLB record for most consecutive wins.
Yeah.
To even get back to 500 right now. That's how bad this is.
Didn't they have a season where they ended the season on like a crazy run? Wasn't that season like I can't remember what year it was where Colorado?
Well, so they went to the World Series in 2007 and lost to the Red
but didn't
Sox.
they win like 20 of the last 21 or something crazy to get to the playoffs?
Not that crazy, but they got hot in September and just started playing. They played their best. We talk about it all the time. They played their best ball. I believe it was that 2007 season. They just played their best ball going into the playoffs and found a way to win. And then they got swept in the World Series by the Red Sox. But it's just like every day is a new day, guys. And what pressure is there on us? Yeah. Nobody has any expectations for us at all. If they had any to begin the year, they have none at all. So just go out and play. Go out and try to win every day, win every at-bat, every pitch, every half inning, every inning, every defensive play, every time you walk on the field.
That's what it was. You're right. They won 20 games in September. So you're right about like the way they ended the season. Yeah, they won 20.
They ended hot. Yeah. Thanks in part to the full emergence of Matt Holliday at the time.
Yes.
He was there like big swinger. But
I don't even know if like any speech or like prompting some.
No, I mean they're gonna keep losing
to be a pro. At this point, it just seems like the ship is sinking so fast, and other teams can smell the blood.
Oh, 100%. And then I think they can smell the blood, and they will sell off for the lowest possible thing they can get, whatever they can get for some of their guys. It's going to suck because Hunter Goodman is really now, like I said, emerged as a good player for them. And I see a very easy way where he's just traded, where they just fire sale their way.
Now, what city is obviously pushing to get as many pro teams as possible right now? Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Las Vegas wants to stack. You got 300 lost seasons in a row, and they may set the single season loss record. At what point does ownership start looking to sell, or what point does Vegas smell the blood and we're like, let's get our claws on that franchise, pull them out here, and then see what we could do about, it won't, of course, they probably won't be the Las Vegas Rockies at that point. You figure they take up a new name. But do you see that happening? If this year and next year we're on 4 seasons in a row of 100 losses?
No, because the Rockies still have enough history that they can. I think they'll stick in Colorado. There's still enough of a base in Colorado. Plus, Vegas is getting the A's in 3 years.
That's right. They're getting the A's. Yep.
So I think Vegas is going to take the A's and see what they can get out of that. And then I don't see the Rockies moving. See, the thing is like baseball teams, like especially these days, they don't move. They get new stadiums, but they don't tend to move. I mean, the A's and Rays have been the two that have been talked about moving, and even the Rays haven't moved. And listen, there was plenty in the Devil Rays days. There was plenty of evidence to say that you just send them, even after the Nationals became the Nationals. After the Expos moved to Washington D.C., became the Nationals. There was plenty of evidence to go just ship the Rays to Montreal like they've been talking about for 20 years. And they didn't move. So I don't see the Rockies moving. But when does ownership want to get out of it? That is a different question.
I mean, I just looked real quick at MLB attendance and capacity. Yeah. Of course, we know things were terrible with the A's, last season. So we're not even going to bring them in the conversation in terms of what that percentage was, like the attendance per game, like year over year percentage. But the Rockies were actually at a plus 3.5% last season, despite how bad they played. Yeah. Notably, other teams way down. Houston was down 11.5%. The Jays were down 10%. That's weird for Houston to be down, but I guess they got to. The Giants were up by 18%. So were the Nationals, around 23%. We know the Orioles are going up. But these are teams that are trending upwards, that are competing to try and get into the playoffs and win, right? So strange that you see like an attendance jump for them, year on year from 23 into 24. I doubt we're going to see that this season.
I wonder, as a side note, I wonder if that influx in people going to Rockies games comes from a fever for their sports teams, given that the Broncos have looked more impressive in recent seasons. And of course, the Nuggets won a title. Yeah. So I wonder if there's if that boosted sports fever a little bit and was like, oh, well, Nuggets season's over. Like if you look at over the summer, Nuggets season's over. We're waiting for the Broncos to really get into camp, and we're excited about this Bo Nix guy we just drafted. And so,
that could be
a Rockies game.
Yeah.
Plus,
I mean, we also know that, like, the Avs rule the town, right? Like, hockey rules.
I mean, and then they won a cup. So
Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah. So sports fever may be back enough in Denver and the surrounding area to be like, hey, let's give the Rockies a shot. Plus, they're so bad. How bad are ticket prices, honestly?
Yeah.
But there is another title team, a team that is not struggling to make it back to a championship. And it hits a little close to home for our dear Grandpa Jay.
That's right.
Jamie, I believe the local University of Tampa lacrosse team, I believe they won themselves a title, did they not?
Yes, they did. The women not only won a title, they have won consecutive titles now, back to back, right? And in convincing fashion in the finals. The men, unfortunately, one win away from a perfect season. They go down in the finals, runner-up. They lose 9-8, 21-1 this year. Would have been a perfect season for the men, so they would have doubled up as men and women's champions. And we do see Tampa really coming together here, where they've had a great legacy as of the last 5 years with their baseball team competing and sending a lot of guys to the majors. Their soccer team has always been very competitive, and they're in the mix almost all the time, getting close to a championship game, of not playing in several. The women's volleyball team has been dominant, winning several championships. The men's swim team won a national title last year, runner-up this year. So we're kind of seeing something happening here in UT sports. It's a very positive thing. And, a lot of it is credited to the fact that with rosters being cut in the D1 level, a lot of D1 quality athletes are coming on down to UT, because in case you haven't been on the campus, it looks like a damn freaking country club, right? You go there on a Friday. Listen, you want to get a recruit to go to Tampa? It worked for many of us. You take them to the pool on a Friday afternoon. The view is fantastic. And this is 20-year-old me talking, by the way. All right. So I ain't there to see the view anymore, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't got much worse in the last 20 years. It can only get better if you double your admission. So now there's 10,000+ people going to the school. At my time, it was 5,000. That also helps bring in better quality athletes. So no surprise that they are one of the upper echelon programs right now in D2 across all sports. So huge congrats to the women's lacrosse team for bringing the title back to the University of Tampa for their second in a row here. And of course, the big talk's going to be, can they do the three-peat next year?
Yes, congrats to the University of Tampa. I was taken to the campus and to the beautiful pool, beautiful new pool that Grandpa Jay did not get an opportunity to swim in during his time at the university, but has sent, I believe, a few different swimmers through his coaching to be able to swim there, and it's beautiful. So everybody, go check it out. But last week, Grandpa Jay, we did play a game. We had Jamie's game time, Grandpa Jay's game time. You challenged us, John and I, on that.
You guys succeeded with flying colors.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna come with the king, you best come correct. That was a fun time. So this week I decided to table the turns, as they say. I think that's what the kids say these days. Yeah, I'm getting too old. I turned 30.
Only the DJs turntables now.
Yes, how the turntables have
turned.
Turn. And I bring you a challenge.
Bring it on.
And I know you are an old head when it comes to basketball.
See.
So, Grandpa Jay, I need you to do this for me. Mm-hmm. 5 names, 5 NBA players to reach. So you have 5 NBA players to list that in total must reach 40,000 career assists.
Oh, wow. And I'm allowed to use anybody in the history of the game.
Anybody in the history of the NBA, yes.
All right. Give me John Stockton.
An excellent start. That gets you 15,806. He is the all-time leader.
Keeping tabs there on your phone calculator?
Yes, I'm calculating.
Give me Jason Kidd.
All right. He is 3rd on the list with 12,091.
Give me Magic Johnson.
Magic, 7th on the list, 10,141. The man's on fire. Okay. You have 2 names left, and you have to get 2,000 more assists.
Give me the big O, baby. Oscar Robertson.
Oscar Robertson, 9th on the list with 9,887.
For shits and giggles, I'll just throw out a fifth name there. Fifth name that I'll throw into the mix would be, I doubt he's anywhere near the top of the list, but I like this guy's game a lot. In fact, he's probably second on the list, Chris Paul.
He is, in fact, second on the list with 12,499. Give me but a moment to finally calculate your final score.
Ding 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 dun 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 dun.
Jamie finishes. Grandpa Jay, you have finished 20,000 assists over your goal at 60,424. Good job. You managed to stay within the top 10 as well. That was a fun challenge. I wanted to see if you could do it. I figured you could. And,
give me a moment for my Napoleon Dynamite moment here.
Yes. Yes. I'm enjoying these game times. We're definitely going to do more as the summer goes on. There's a lot of different challenges.
And if you guys have any ideas for us, go ahead and throw it out there and say, hey, you guys do this challenge and one of us would take it on. Of course, it's better. It's spontaneous, but we love ideas from our audience.
We do love ideas. And you can message us directly if you want to try to keep it away from prying eyes. But we would like you to interact with us on our socials at Cinco Squad Pod 05. Well, I believe with that challenge done, brings us
what time it is
to our weekly challenge. Grandpa Jay, tell them what we're about to do.
Boys and girls, ghouls and goblins, and everybody in between. It's time for Stump
the
Squad. All right, so Mikey and I today, I guess we may or may not end up in a tie because either one gets it right, both get it wrong. We'll see. So we may not end up with a W after this week, but we're still going to have fun with our paper game. We ask ourselves any trivia across all sports. If you get it right, you get +2. If you get it wrong, you get -2. Play along with us. Don't cheat and look at your phone or anything here. Just see if you come up with the answer and go ahead and like, subscribe, and let us know if you're smarter than the squad. So since I'm introing the game, Miguel, take it away.
All right. So we did talk about how bad the Colorado Rockies are. They are abysmally horrible, and it's not getting any better. I'm sorry, Rockies fans. I'm just being honest with you as a baseball fan. I've seen my fair share of seasons. It's not getting better. But which team, Grandpa Jay, previously held the worst record in MLB history through 50 games before this year's Colorado Rockies set it? A, the 1996 Detroit Tigers. B, the 2006 Kansas City Royals. C, the 2013 Miami Marlins. Or D, the 2023 Oakland Athletics.
For some reason, I know
all of them bad teams.
All of them really bad, but something's compelling me to say Le Detroit Tigers. So I'm going to have to go with Detroit in 96.
This week, I have successfully stumped, technically, the squad. There is only one person to stump in the squad this week, but I have stumped you.
Is it Oakland?
It is the 2023 Oakland A's. There's a reason why they're leaving Oakland.
It was Detroit before that, though, right? And Oakland surpassed it. Is that correct?
Let's see. So, yes, it was. So it was 8-42 for the Rockies this year. The 23 A's were 10-40.
Yep.
96 Tigers were 12-38. The 13 Marlins were 13-37, and the 06 Royals were 13-37.
I know the Royals are pretty bad too that year.
Just like to point out that A's team did manage to get to 50 wins that year.
Yep.
So we'll see if this year's Colorado Rockies team can make enough of a push to not fall below those 50 wins. But
come on, guys, let's win a series sometime soon. Win a series before freaking Independence Day. Come on, Colorado.
I think they'll win a series. I don't know how many games they'll win. I think they'll manage. I think they might manage.
It just happens that bad. They just can't put out 2 or 3 good starters to win a series, right?
It's awful.
All right, Mike, you ready? You ready to try and capture this W?
Yes. All I have to do is get it right.
I made it easy for you this week, right? Yeah. So, how many combined losses do the Pacers and Thunder have in the playoffs this year? Combined losses.
Oh, God.
Is it 6, 7, 8, or 9?
How dare you put that number in there? Do I instinctually go with it? I'm rolling back through the series, and I'm trying to remember how many I remember them losing. Well, so they've won. Okay, the Pacers and Thunder have both lost a game in this series. So that's 2. How many did they lose before that? In the 2 series before that? You know what? Screw it. We have to. For the brand. 7.
He does it, and he gets the W. Trust your instincts, boys and girls.
Yes.
The
7.
OKC swept the Grizzlies. They went to 7 against Denver, and they've lost 1 so far. Yeah. Indiana has only lost game 3 in each of their 3 series.
Wow.
Yep.
See, and the thing is, I forgot the Thunder went 7 with Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's why I thought you would stumble. I thought you would stumble and go low because they're like, oh, they didn't lose 3.
They didn't lose.
They can't be all the way up to 7 or 8.
Well, and to your point from earlier, the fact that every game seems to be a blowout. It's like when the Thunder beat Denver, it felt like they should have been beating them faster.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like when they did
overtime in Denver in game 6, they had that game and they kind of let their foot off the pedal into the 4th. That's everybody's like, oh, this team's too young, they can't get it done. We'll see.
Well, yours truly got the stump win, stealing some might say cheap one, being that it was only the 2 of us. But that brings our scoreboard to myself in the lead with 6 wins. Grandpa Jay has 3, and Trey Day and John are tied with 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get on one of those 1 month streaks to win 3 or 4 in a row. So it's coming, boys and girls.
Well, you've got time. Everybody's got time. Nobody's out of it yet. Obviously, it was still 12 episodes left till we get to episode 175.
Right. And you just can't keep winning.
I just can't keep winning. Correct. But joke's on you guys, because that's exactly what I plan to do. Keep winning.
We hear you.
I'm back.
Talking about keep winning, Edmonton and Florida are trying to make themselves a double date here for back-to-back years in the Stanley Cup. So by this time, when you guys tune in next week to the squad, we'll know who's in the Stanley Cup finals. We'll know who's in the NBA finals. And for God's sakes, Colorado, can you win a damn series so we can start to show off wearing purple going, yeah,
you did it.
You did it. Can you imagine just not even mid-season, just celebrating randomly in the middle of June, and the teams won their first series in the middle of June. What the hell?
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on all our socials at Single Squad Pod 05. Interact with us. We love interacting with people, getting ideas for what you want to hear us talk about on the show. Stump the Squad questions, Mike's minds. I'm always taking suggestions as far as that goes. So please engage with us, because remember, we do talk back. But this has been a great show. Jamie, it's been a real treat. Looking forward to episode 164 next week, and see you guys next week. Cinco Squad.
Liverpool champions for the whole of the year, baby. Let's go. Peace.